Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of Rachel's Page Turners. Today I'm actually on a field trip with my fiance. He's not currently with me, he's actually saving our spots. I went to buy our books for the book signing that we're here for today. It's Kevin Hearne, and he's signing a bunch of things. He's signing his newest book, which is Besieged, and I'd show you, but my hands are a little full. And we're here at the Harvard Coop, which is a giant place. It's a bookstore that has 4 floors. There's a cafe. It's just a really massive building, and I'm definitely going to try to explore while I'm here before I leave. And I'll try to do as much vlogging as I can.
And welcome to the latest edition of the Coop Authors Series. Today we are ecstatic to have Kevin Hearne, author of Besieged.
Sorry, I'm Good time.
He is here with his audiobooks narrator, Luke Daniels. Kevin Hearne is responsible for the wildly popular New York Times best-selling Iron Druid Chronicles. In Besieged, the adventures continue, whether beneath the Library of Alexandria, during the Gold Rush, with William Shakespeare, or in Kansas. Without further ado, please give a warm welcome to Kevin Hearne.
Thank you guys so much. I'm so grateful to you for coming out here. I feel like a rock star with all this feedback.
He said if it gets too bad, take it in your hand and it will be off the mic stand. That'll help. There you go.
How's that? It's dangerous to give me a microphone. You want to start? Yeah, you want to start changing your voice a little bit. You guys know, I used to be a singing waiter. I can actually sing. And that's how I got myself through college. Not the fancy Harvard college. I got admitted to the fancy ones, but whew, I was poor. So yeah, when they said what the tuition was, even back in at that time, I couldn't afford it. So I went to a state school in Arizona because they would let me go for free. And yeah, I went to NAU, and that's why you have all that stuff about Flagstaff and so on and so forth in there. So I'm so happy to be here today. I have when you go on tours normally for novels, the publisher kind of tends to send you to the same few cities because, well, some cities are just like guaranteed to have huge turnouts. This is a good one. Actually, will you take a picture? And the reason, yeah, I want to use my camera. And the reason I care about turnouts and stuff like that is I actually have a little tiny quest of my own. I would like to show the people in New York that other places buy books besides Seattle and Portland. Seattle and Portland, just so you know, like a little piece of trivia, are probably the 2 most popular tour spots for books. They have an incredible reading population there. And did I unlock it for you? You're all good? Okay, so we always get sent there, and they are great towns, and I love to see the readers out there, but boy, I've seen them a lot, and I've never seen you before. And so I'm very excited to have managed to convince New York that I should go to places I've never been before, please, for this book. So every town has been new. And yesterday I was down in New Haven, and here we are in Cambridge today. And I got to get myself a sweatshirt, I think, before I leave. It'll be good. I got my son. He's going to want one for sure, I think. So I'm very happy to be here with Luke. He has done, if you haven't listened to the audiobooks, they are really fantastically done. The way that I discovered that I got dang lucky, because I don't have a choice in who my narrator is, that gets picked for me. So the way I knew I was super lucky was when I listened to Hounded, and I already knew all the jokes because I wrote them. But I still laughed because of his delivery. So, because, that's when I knew, like... Let's see, and it's something actually a lot of folks ask me too. They're wondering, like, does Luke say things the way that you say them in your head, and no, not even close. And that's fine, because I really enjoy when folks, the nature of art is interpretive, right? Theater or anything like that is interpretive, and I'm sure the people that are performing Shakespeare now are not saying it just the way Shakespeare would have said it, right? So that is not something that ever remotely bothered me, and I've really been enjoying his performances of my work. So, especially, but I do now when I'm writing some of the new stuff, I put in stuff just to mess with him.
When we first started out, it was always like, and then this person said that. And now it's like, and then this person said that, like this.
I very purposely in book 7, they're running across Poland, and I just brought up a map of Poland on Google, and I picked the one with like all consonants in one vowel. I'm like, go, Luke, go. I dare you. Figure that one out.
Which always comes back to bite him, because then I just call him up, and I'm like, how do I say this?
But still, I still laugh. So it's great. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Besieged and some of the Iron Druid stuff that I've been working on, and then Luke is going to do a reading for you of something that's forthcoming, The Squirrel on the Train. The sequel to The Purloined Poodle. And then I actually have some other projects to talk about with you, because I am now writing 3 different series. I'm not just doing the Iron Druid. The Iron Druid, of course, is coming to a close because it's. I'm writing the last book now. It's called Scourged, and it will be out April 3rd. The fact that they already have the cover and the publication date, and I haven't finished it yet, scares me a lot. I'm about halfway done. So, but I've already come up with some new characters that I can't wait to hear Luke's performance of. Slow Noble Brutally.
Which is
yeah.
Ahead of time, I need a little hint so I can prepare myself for what to do. Like when Starbuck, the new dog, came along, he said, "No, dog's going to talk, you know." So that gave me about 6 months of sleepless nights of like, how am I?
That's perfect.
Yeah.
So Besieged, first 4 stories of Besieged are from Atticus's past that I've wanted to write for a whole long time, and I've actually alluded to them in the novels. For example, the raid on the Library of Alexandria, that was mentioned quite a bit in several different places, especially, of course, the Grimoire of the Lamb. So I finally got to write that story, and that was a blast. But after those first 4 stories, everything happens after the book Staked. And so those last 5 stories are really, I guess you could call them book 8.5. They kind of work together to lead you into Scourged. You have 2 of those are from the point of view of Owen. One of them tells you how Atticus became his apprentice. One of them really deals with his new apprentices, the 6 little kids from all around the world. And in the regular novels, I don't get a chance to really develop those characters because they're not part of Atticus's story necessarily. So this short story was an ideal way for me to explore those characters. And that's what I got really excited about, is like, I want to develop these kids a little bit. And if I'm going to continue in the world, that's what I'm going to do, is I will, start, or I'll pick up with those kids when they're old and they're actually, full druids, and tell their stories. So it'll still be the same world, it just won't be Atticus and Oberon, it'll be these kids. And whatever their companions are, right? So then we also have a story from Hearne that you should not read to your kids. It's called Cuddle Dungeon.
My kids love me. I don't understand.
I don't understand. These kids love cuddling. I like to cuddle. What is the problem?
There is dungeon. Dungeon is problem for many people. I can do a little bit of voices too. His voice for Hearne is actually probably the closest to what I have in my head. I really enjoyed that because there is a very serious message behind all of that, but the research for that story was way interesting. because I mean that's not my scene at all. And there was actually a dominatrix who follows me on Twitter. She's super nice. Her name is Mistress Simone, and that's what jumped out at me on Twitter. Like somebody's commenting, you know. And so after a while, I'm like, well, I have to write this story. Maybe I could ask her something so I don't screw this up. But I first went and told my wife, honey, I'm talking to this lady, it's just research. So that was an awkward conversation and everything, but it worked out fantastic. She's so cool, and I gave her a shout out in the acknowledgments for her help to make sure I got that right, because a lot of folks don't portray it in an accurate way, or what's the ethos behind it, because there is a super hardcore ethos behind it. It is all based on consent. You know, there's nothing there that, you know, a lot of popular culture just kind of says, look how kinky this is, but that's not really the deal. So so past that, we have also a story from Granuel and a last story from Atticus. So I hope you guys enjoy those, and just know that Scourged is coming. But I've been working on other stuff too. I have an epic fantasy coming out on October 17th, so just like, you know, a few months away. It's called A Plague of Giants. It's the first of a trilogy called The Seven Kennings. And I think, did we get bookmarks sent to you by my publisher or no?
We did.
Okay, so cool. If you wouldn't mind, I'd love to hand those out. So we're going to be giving you guys some bookmarks that feature the cover of A Plague of Giants, or at least a part of it. And Luke can sign those too if you'd like. There's a spot for me to sign and then a spot for him to sign as well. And I hope you'll give it a try. I've worked on it a long time. I actually wrote the first draft of it before I wrote Hounded. It's been in my head for a very long time. And one of the things that what I'm trying to accomplish with this is try to render in prose the experience of what the ancient Greeks must have experienced way back when Homer was telling them the Iliad and the Odyssey each night around, I guess, their hearth or whatever. He told them a chapter of the Iliad or the Odyssey each night as their entertainment. And I just think that's really cool to have sort of an episodic kind of thing told to you by a storyteller. So I have a bard that is telling this story to a field of refugees who have been, washed up there by a war. They've been invaded by giants on two different coasts, both east and west. They're two different races of giants, but they're coming there for different reasons. And with one of them, they have no way of even communicating with them. So there's a lot of stress going on because these folks they've been at peace for a very long time, and now suddenly it's, crunch time, literally. And they have to figure out how to survive, basically. So I have this bard telling the story to these refugees each night on the city wall. He can project his voice magically so that everybody can hear him, but he also has the ability to take on the seeming of people, and that seeming includes their voice. So what's different about this, as in terms of structure, is that we do have a framing device, but then we have 11 different first-person points of view, because the bard is, taking the personage of all these different people, and they're not military leaders. They're regular folks. They're not kings and queens or anything like that. These are folks who are suddenly thrust into extraordinary circumstances and have to figure out how to survive. So all of those stories do weave together, however, to give you a single narrative. And I drew my own map for it. I geeked out and did that. I used to be an art major. So because I did my own map, my publisher told me, hey, we still have a budget. Want to do some illustrations of your characters to help people keep them all straight? And I'm like, yeah! I just emailed that, but that was the tone of my email. So I've been revealing a new character each day of my tour, and then I'll post it the next day on my social media. But yesterday I was so late for the deal down in New Haven. I got off the train and had to go directly to the event, that I didn't have time to reveal one. I didn't bring the illustration with me, so I'm sharing two with you guys today. Those of you in the back who can't see this well, you will be able to see it very well
I could walk it
when I'm up here. You come on up and we'll have them here. First one is Nell Kit Ben Sa. That is her name, and she is a greensleeve. Her particular folks have a symbiotic relationship with their forest. She's kind of a sort of an elite class among that particular folk, that kenning, that she's of the 5th kenning. So the whole series is called the 7 kennings. And then, she's one of them, and she is the primary person who is responsible for fighting against one of the giant invasions on the West Coast. So that's kind of what's going on there with her. And the second one that I'm going to share with you, this is Dervin Duolivar, and he's on the other side of the continent. He's on the East Coast. He is the fellow who actually writes everything down that the Bard says. He's an old military man, and he's basically assigned by his country's leader to write down the Bard's story, but also kind of be counterintelligence, because they're very worried that the Bard is a spy. Because the Bard has come there to, as a sort of a gift from this other country to tell them the story, but they don't trust the Bard because he can take on the appearance of anybody and plus their voice. So they're worried that he is there to be an imposter and find out some things that he shouldn't know. And Dervin is given this task to, basically kind of report on this fella, but also write down everything he says and be friendly at the same time, So, and also what's going on with Dervin at home is he has refugees living in his house. So his wife has passed away. His wife actually used to be a spy. And so there is some suspicion that maybe the country that the Bard comes from might have been responsible for his wife's death. So he's got some personal stake in that as well. And he's a very kind fellow, but now he's thrust suddenly into being a spy when he has no training to be one and all that. So I like him a lot. He's a lot of fun to write. As far as being fun to write, Nell is probably my favorite because she is such a forestry kind of person. It lends to some really beautiful things in language, so I have a great time constructing her personality language-wise. So that's coming out in October, and I hope you guys will give it a try. It is very different from the Iron Druid. There is humor in it, but it's not like there's a talking dog in there. So hopefully Luke will be doing part of the voices for it. We also, I would like a woman to be doing part of them as well, because out of the 11 points of view, it is skewed male in the first book, but it's even in the second book, and in the third book it's skewed female. So I need to have a female narrator as well, just to make sure we have that richness of different voices here throughout that audiobook production. So, yeah. Awesome. Yes, indeed. The other thing I'm writing that I've been working on is Kill the Farm Boy by me and Delilah S. Dawson. It's going to be a comedic epic fantasy where we are just making fun of epic fantasy tropes. Farm boys keep getting to be chosen ones, and we're sick of it. They need to die. So we're going to kill the farm boy in the first one. Spoiler, it's the title. And then the second one is called No Country for Old Gnomes. So that's everything that I am actually up to at the moment. I deeply, deeply appreciate you coming. I'm so grateful to you for reading and for listening. So, again, thank you very much. And however you would like to do the lineup thing on the bobber for the signing.
We're going to ask people to line up against the left here.